Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So have you ever wanted to start a career in cybersecurity but you don't have like a technical background or technical skills? So what if I told you you could start a career in cybersecurity without going bankrupt on certifications or spending years getting a degree or getting technical skills? The answer to that is very simple, a career in governance, risk and compliance. Governance, risk and compliance, or GRC, in this field you don't need to know like coding or penetration testing or ethical hacking. You need to know things like compliance frameworks, risk management, and effective communication. In fact, I would say that GRC is one of the few fields where the ability to think critically, collaborate, and effectively communicate, that is more important than having deep technical expertise. So, if you've ever felt that a career in cybersecurity is out of reach for you because you don't have a technical background, then stick with me with this video and I'll show you the steps where you can get started in GRC and hopefully land a high paying job. If you're new here, my name is Taimur Ijlal. I have over 23 years in cybersecurity. And in this channel, we talk about things like cloud security, AI, and cybersecurity career advice. So do like and subscribe to this channel and let's get started. So how do you start a GRC career in 2025? You start with this roadmap, which I'm going to show you. First of all, let's set the stage. Like, what is GRC? When I talk about governance, risk, and compliance, what exactly am I talking about? So a GRC professional is a person who makes sure that the company is operating within regulatory frameworks. You know, there are certain compliance standards within cybersecurity, within risk, and your job is to make sure that those frameworks are being compliant with, those risks are being assessed, and you make sure that those controls which these frameworks are requiring, they are implemented within this within the company. What skills you need, like policy and procedures, risk management, regulate knowledge of regulatory standards, the ability to create compliance roadmaps, and the ability to track and manage and mitigate risks. You will be interacting with people like senior management. You will be interacting with people like internal auditors, external auditors. So all of these things, they come together in a GRC professional. Okay. Now, why choose GRC? So, okay, now you know what a GRC is. Why would you want to choose this field above other fields in cybersecurity? Well, the first thing is, like I already talked about, accessibility. It's a very, very accessible field. Like I said, you do not need to have a deep technical expertise. And like, you don't need to know coding or penetration testing or ethical hacking. It's very, very easy to get into GRC. It's not simple. You still need a roadmap, but the entry barrier is considerably less because, and I've helped people who have who are quite experienced but they did not have technical background, people like teachers or people like accountants, and they were able to break into GRC because they used that experience and they did not have to rely on technical skills. Number two is high demand. GRC is still very, very popular. More and more standards are coming out, more and more risk frameworks are coming out, all with AI and cloud security and regulations and Gen AI. So companies need people with good GRC skills. Number three is career path. There are many, many career paths within GRC. Once you start, you can get a job with the big four. You can later on become a security consultant, start your own company, offer freelancing services, become like a head of governance and compliance. Honestly, depending on the company, depending on what you want, there are many, many career paths. And point four is work-life balance. And a lot of people don't mention this, but a GRC career is usually, it has a little bit more work-life balance. And especially if you, as you get older, you actually prefer this as opposed to being like an incident response or penetration testing where the deadlines can be very, very crazy. GRC professionals typically are able to strike a better work-life balance. And this is completely my subjective opinion, but this is what I've seen within the industry. And like I said, Gartner or any other report you can take a look at, it does predict that the security and the risk management market is going to become more and more popular as more regulations come out. The GRC market is not going to go away. Even if AI comes, the nature of GRC is you need a person to understand frameworks, explain it to you, communicate, interact with stakeholders. So it's a very AI proof field. AI will make it easier, but it's impossible to replace, especially when you need somebody who thinks critically. Now that you've understood what are the mistakes that people make when they're trying to start a career in GRC, and I've had many, many people come to me and they're frustrated and they don't know how to, like their GRC, they're not able to break into GRC or their career in GRC is not going the way they want. So what are those mistakes? Well, number one is the one I always say, they chase certifications, be it like an entry point or an experienced person. Like people get the wrong certifications, like somebody wants to go into GRC and they do go and do a certified ethical hacker. That's not going to help you with GRC, right? That's a penetration testing one. So you need to have like a career plan, which I'll talk about. Number two is they first attempt technical jobs. So they try to become a L1 incident response or a SOC analyst. That's not going to help you get the skills you need in GRC, and that's not even a career path towards it, right? Or they become like, I don't know, a cloud security engineer or vulnerability assessment. So they attempt technical jobs and they think this will get me into GRC. It doesn't, right? And then number three is they self-study without a plan. So they get, I don't know, the CISA manual or the CISM manual and they start self-studying. This is all completely fine. I'm not saying you should not self-study. That's great. But you should always have a plan, which I'm going to show you, like how to get those skills, the specific skills which people are looking for within GRC professionals. So these are some of the mistakes that people make. So what is the right way to enter GRC? Let's follow a structured way, a structured roadmap to get into GRC, and hopefully this will in a proper way get you that the experience and the skills you need, whether you're starting out or you're an experienced person. So the first of all is very important. Start with the standards. You need to understand the regulatory frameworks, which 99% of the companies will need you to understand. The standards like ISO 27001, PCI DSS, the NIST cybersecurity framework, SOC type 2. These are just some of the few common ones which almost every company has to comply with when they talk about GRC. I'm not saying that you should memorize these standards. I've worked in GRC for like 15 years. I've never memorized these standards, but you should have a good understanding. Like if somebody talks to you about ISO, you don't have a question mark on your face. Or they talk to you about the PCI DSS standard or the NIST cybersecurity framework or what are SOC type 2, who uses it. At least have a good understanding of these standards, right? Download these standards. They're completely free to review and go over them. Try to understand which are applicable to what's the process for going about it. And one easy way of going it, which is the next step, which is read case studies. There are many case studies available on the internet. If you just read the standard, they are very boring. Honestly, I fall asleep if I try to reach the ISO 27001 standard. If I try to read it starting from the first page till the end, it's very boring, very dry. Most standards are dry. So one way of making it interesting is find case studies. Find case studies for companies who have implemented ISO, implemented PCI DSS, implemented the NIST cybersecurity framework or a SOC type 2, and see the path they went to. This will give you a practical understanding of how these standards are implemented, what are the challenges that companies face when they try to implement these standards, and what are the success factors, and it will make it much less boring. That's the mistake. Another mistake I see, people try to memorize standards. Nobody wants to memorize standards. They're very boring. But read case studies, which are completely freely available on the internet, on how companies manage these standards and implemented it. Now, step 3 is getting certified, but getting the right certification. Okay. If you're starting out, it will make zero sense for you to get the CSSP or the C-Risk. These are fewer certifications within GRC. Get the CompTIA Security Plus. If you have experience, right, maybe you're in accounting and all that, and you have a good understanding of risk frameworks or basically what risk is, then go for something like the C-Risk. If you feel that if you're an IT or like you have a technical background and you think you still can do it, then go for the CSSP. But try to assess what level you are at. Okay. Do not make the mistake of just going for the CSSP immediately. There's a high chance you will fail and waste all that money and effort and get demotivated. Start with the CompTIA Security Plus. If you're starting out, then maybe go to the C-Risk, and then for something like the CSSP, have a proper path, and then have a roadmap for the next 2 to 3 years where you can get all of these certifications. But like I said, have a proper career path where you build upon your previous knowledge. Okay, number 4, very important, which is, I would say, this is where I see the majority of people failing in GRC. They do not improve their communication skills. In GRC, you will be interacting with people 24/7. You will be interacting with senior management people, external stakeholders, internal auditors, and you have to communicate to them. You have to explain to them what is the issue. You have to write reports. You need to develop your skills on report writing, presentation, and public speaking. Without these 3, you will have a challenge. Okay. It's not impossible. I used to be quite bad at public speaking, but like I said, start practicing. You will get very nervous initially. Get a few of your friends and just, role play. Pretend that they are the CEO and you're explaining an audit finding, or you're explaining how to get PCI DSS certified or the ISO, or you're explaining an audit finding, and try to make it as less technical as possible. Do not try to talk in lingo like the WAV SQL injection had the SSL to explain it like you explain it to your parents or your grandmother, right? In a non-technical way. This is a very important skill to get. This is the the key area where I've interviewed thousands of people in my career. They are not. They might be very very good in GRC, like they've understood the standard, they've understood risk. They're not able to communicate. They're not able to explain to people. Please improve your communication skills. There are many completely free videos available on YouTube, or you can practice with one of your friends. But do not neglect this step. Two skills: report writing and communication, like public speaking and report writing. They are crucial within GRC, so do not skip this step. Okay, number 5. Now, getting practical experience. A lot of times people feel frustrated because they're not able to get a job because they don't have experience. Well, honestly speaking, once you have these skills, the one I talked about, what you can do is, if you're looking for GRC experience, you can find small businesses or non-profits on LinkedIn, and you can volunteer to do an audit, right? Tell them, hey, I have these skills. I'm happy to do a compliance review for you, or maybe create a compliance framework completely free for you and get a testimonial. Most companies are completely happy because they cannot afford, they don't have these budgets for full-fledged audits or full-fledged GRC professionals, right? They are more than happy to give you a testimonial. So leverage that. You can go on websites like Fiverr, or no, not Fiverr, Upwork. I think Fiverr is not that good for that. Upwork is good for freelancing, and you can put your profile there and try to find people who want somebody to do an audit. Try to do it. Don't think about the money right now. Try to do it for as less money as possible. But the main thing is getting testimonials, right? And so you will be able to put that testimonials. So the ideal client is small businesses, non-profits, because these are the ones which do not have the budgets for full-fledged GRC professionals, and they are more than happy to have someone do a review for them. Okay, what is the next step? Establishing industry credentials. So what makes you stand out? So, okay, you have all these things, and when you apply for a job, like 50 other people will be applying for a job with you, right? So what are the few things that can make you stand out? Well, there are many easy ways of making your profile more powerful. One is publishing articles. You can publish articles for things like ISACA journal, right? It takes some time, but you can get yourself published. I published 2 or 3 articles there, or CIO magazine, or even LinkedIn. You can create your own LinkedIn like newsletter, or you can go and speak in webinars or conferences, but establish industry credentials. Okay, if you're good at speaking, then try to get into conferences. If you're good at writing, then publish articles in things like ISACA journal, CIO mag, or other magazines which might be popular within the GRC frame, but try to get your industry credentials, and you can put that. I honestly can tell you that 15 years ago, I was about to get a job with PCI DSS, and I was competing with many other people. What made me get the job was I had spoken at a conference around PCI DSS, and that gave the hiring manager the confidence that, okay, Tamur has he has gone on to like an international conference, and he has spoken in front of people about PCI DSS. He has that knowledge. This can be the deciding factor. So do this in parallel, but do not skip this step, because the whole point of GRC is people are trusting you to have knowledge about frameworks, about risk management, and this is a great way to establish your credentials, right? Don't waste your time like watching YouTube videos. Make a YouTube video, or make a Udemy course, or publish articles, whatever you think is like aligns to your skill set, and put that on your resume. The next step is optimizing your profile. So when I see people on LinkedIn, unfortunately, what they do is like take a look at the banner where I have, right, which says that I help people land cybersecurity jobs. A lot of time people just waste this space. They put like a picture of themselves or a nice background where they their country or their I don't know why. This is a massive real estate you can use. Put what you know about that. Just put I am a GRC professional learning GRC. Put the standards you are available on, and you can the next one is below my name. You can see the headline, right, where I put in what I do, what I have, what are my achievements. Use this. Okay, I'm going to make a complete video on how you can optimize your cybersecurity profile, but at least you can optimize your profile right now. LinkedIn is the first impression people get of you. At least do these 2 things, and try to put your knowledge about GRC, put it in your LinkedIn profile. Don't overstuff it, because that seems suspicious, but try to put your achievements there. But do not, these are the 2 things I see a lot of people miss out on this, the banner and the headline. Okay, so now that you have it, this should give you a very good knowledge about GRC. And if you've provided you followed all these steps, you should have started applying for GRC jobs. What are some of the common interview questions? I mean, the things I've seen a lot of people ask, and I have asked myself. They ask you the differences between the standards. This is why I said you need to have a good understanding of standards. Like, what's the difference between ISO 27001 and PCI DSS, or maybe GDPR and all that, they will ask you. So have a good understanding of these frameworks and understand what standard is applicable to what company. How would you conduct a risk assessment? Remember, they are not asking for a definition. They want you to see what steps you would take. Like, so that's why I asked you to read the case studies, because the case studies will show you how companies practically do it. So walk them through the steps, how you would identify the assets, like how would you give them a value, how would you find the probability, and those steps, right? What's your experience with regulatory frameworks? This is where sometimes people stumble if they don't have experience, right? So don't lie. Don't say, oh yeah, I have 10 years of experience, because they will find out and it will cause you a lot of problems. No, be honest with them. And if you've gotten those testimonials from like reaching out to people, you can use them here. Tell them I'm still learning, but I've already proactively like reached out to people and done a compliance review for them. These are their testimonials and all that. So that will help you out here if you don't have that experience, right? How do you stay updated on regulatory changes? Talk about things like NIST, like the NIST website or ISACA journal, or maybe you subscribe to some newsletters, because they want to see that, hey, people are actually like you're keeping yourself up to date, right? How do you prioritize risks when resources are limited? A lot of time people ask this, okay, you want to fix this, but you don't have the budget. What now? So they want to see how pragmatic you are. How will you be able to solve this problem? Will you put in some sort of a compensating control? Will you say, no, we have to have this, right? Because that's not a, like what do you call, a very pragmatic way of approaching it. There are situations where you won't have the budget, you won't have the resources. What do you do then? And that is a common problem which companies face within GRC. They want to see how good your practical risk management skills are. Okay, so we've almost finished this. This went on a bit longer, but what are the GRC trends in 2025 you should be focusing on? Because it's very possible a few companies might ask this, and if you put this on your profile, this can set you apart. Well, there are things like the PCI DSS version 4 deadline is coming up. The PCI DSS version 4 has been going on for quite some time. A few of their deadlines are now coming. I think it's in Q1 2025. So you might get asked about this. The NIS2 directive, if you're working in the European Union, this has become applicable. The NIST AI risk management framework has come out, and it's more and more companies are now applying it. And there's now a focus on environmental, societal, and governance. I always forget the abbreviation, but this is more about your company's carbon footprint. You know, how socially responsible is your company? Are you thinking about your carbon footprint, pollution? And you won't believe this is becoming a very, very hot topic. More and more jobs. If you search for this, you will find a lot of jobs coming out for this. And within GRC, this is becoming a very, very hot topic. So I just thought I'll mention this to help you get that knowledge if you're prepping for a GRC job. So that pretty much wraps it up. I hope this was give you a good idea about a roadmap and how you can use it and how you can really level up and get that GRC job. As you can see, you do not need to be like a technical expert, but you do need to have a structured roadmap, and you need to work on this, work on getting understanding standards, getting certified, getting that practical skills, improving your communication, and practice with these interview questions, and you should be well on your way to success. Thank you very much. If you found this video useful, do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Good luck on your career.